Casual here. In my last video I mentioned that I was working on a build using the Lava Lich gear set, a gear set that just hasn't had much love from content creators. Well, I'm here to tell you that they've been missing out, because this build kicks ass. The Lava Lich gear set is a little bit of an odd one. Its gear set bonus buffs the damage of Eruption for 40% and reduces its cooldown by 10%. Given Eruption as an explosive skill, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this gear set then is made for the Tempest bottom tree. However, most of the gear carries Phaser Beam mods, which is an ignite skill, and so pushes you into the middle tree, Firestorm. The answer is, this is a hybrid build taking bits of both. With this build I am not taking any survivability mods, but I am building for that by taking additional max health, armor and resistance, and using Distant Flame to buff my anomaly power back up to pretty much where it would have been if this had been a pure bottom tree build. I am running 37,600 health with this build, but only 54.4% physical damage reduction and 40% resistance. This is not a build where you will be face tanking, but its strong damage output ensures that you are getting the heals you need to offset the additional damage you may take. I have picked up Warm Up, which reduces the cooldown on Phaser Beam by 15%, as well as Wildfire and its global cooldown reduction of 10%. I am going deep into the bottom tree so that I can pick up World Ablaze for its 15% cooldown reduction to explosive skills, Fire and Anomaly for its buff to AP, and Grave Ablaze which further buffs Eruption by 30%. One thing to note is that I haven't picked up any buffs to burn damage from the class tree. This might seem odd because if you look at Phaser Beam, its damage is increased by status power, so clearly we want to stack as much of that as possible, and of course status power buffs burn damage. There is a big difference between the Pyro class tree burn buffs and those that come from mods. Mods like Bullet Kindling buff all damage to enemies afflicted with burn, no matter its source, whereas in the class tree the buffs only increase the burn damage itself, which is very lackluster, and so I would avoid them. With Eruption and Phaser Beam a must for this gear set, I have chosen Thermal Bomb as my third skill. I love this skill because it is point and click. It is a great skill for clearing packs of enemies, and when coupled with the mod Branded, it provides a 40% damage buff. These three skills put out huge amounts of damage and are great at burning down elite enemies. In terms of stats, I am picking up 3 anomaly power and 2 max health, balancing damage output with survivability. The other 2 stats focus on status power, which increases the damage of Phaser Beam, and cooldown reduction. This is a very skill intensive build, so getting the cooldowns as low as possible is a priority. I am buffing Eruption through Pompeii, Giga Blast and improved damage on top of the gear set bonus. Phaser Beam is buffed through Size Matters, Frequent Phaser, Ashen Champion and Volcanic Armor. Volcanic Armor might seem a little bit unnecessary, but is actually a great buff to survivability. With the low cooldown on Phaser Beam of 7.2 seconds, Ashen Champion provides a strong buff to AP and your skills damage, which can be kept up all the time. Thermal Bomb is buffed through Branded and True Blast, and finally I am taking the almost essential Captain Hunter to make elites that little bit easier to take down. For my weapons I am running Death Shield and Air to the Desert, both of which are modded with Fortress. I use Air to the Desert whenever I am using Phaser Beam due to the 30% status power on it. Death Shield with Shadow Comet is a great way to activate Thermal Bomb on packs of enemies. On top of that, its 18% life leech provides strong healing, which helps to overcome the Pyromancer's problematic healing mechanic. For my sidearm I am running the very overused Clip Combustion and Moaning Winds, which gives me a nice 500,000 AoE bomb whenever I remember it is there. This build has very strong damage output and is one of the strongest I have played against elites outside of the pure firepower Technomancer Blighted Rounds builds. It doesn't have the same AoE potential as the Ikari builds, but it certainly is a very strong one and is good for both solo and group play. Until next time, Casual out.